do want to start off with the college game here. And there's been a lot of talk about just how much has changed over the last couple of years.
Absolutely.
With players able to finally make money off their own name, image, and likeness. And the idea that this big business that has been so fruitful for the universities and for the broadcasters, for that matter, now can be for the players themselves.
Yeah, I mean, aside from whoever is going to host the championship trophy, there's going to be some business winners on various sides of the equation. So first and foremost, sports betting is going to win pretty significantly.
Yeah.
So analysts are projecting about upwards to 15 billion in transactions. Therefore, there's going to be a windfall with
And that's all on the up and up.
all on up and up.
Because, I mean, a few years ago,
Right.
you couldn't do this on the up.
Yeah, and it's even more amplified because you have apps or platforms such as DraftKings as well as FanDuel, and what they're able to do, aside from, let's say, the unregulated betting, is that they can do a lot of in-game transactions where you can't do that on the unregulated market. NIL, as you mentioned, is going to be on the uptick this time of the year. There are some, breakout performances. And, TV is all about entertainment. So there'll be student athletes that will have, recognizable moments in which they'll be able to capitalize on.
How much has that changed, though, that the pipeline into the NBA, into the professional sports, given that these kids can sort of make, a living, for lack of a better word, in college? I mean, remember, we went through that phase where people would just go to college for 1 year, get their championship, get their name known, and they were out.
Yeah, I think social media has been a big driver of that. And the thing is, if you look at the marketing side, brands want to be engaged with college students. One thing about, being in college is that if you, let's say, choose a bank, you're probably not going to change that bank for the rest of your life. So if you can engage on the marketing side with that audience and also amplify that audience, what better way to do it than sports and utilizing these athletes as influencers?
So you've made a lot of great points so far that sports betting is going to win. Maybe some of these athletes individually will win too when you think about name, image, likeness. What about the actual colleges? For a Furman, for example, rocketing up in the brackets here. I mean, what does that mean for the actual colleges? So
every round that the school goes through within the NCAA tournament, and all men and women's side, because you're having both tournaments having simultaneously, they get part of the bonus pool and a sum of money for every round that they go. So the more Furman advances, the more money goes to their school. Part of that will probably go to the athletic program, but it also goes into the educational component, whether it be for building out labs and so forth.
And that's what I was wondering about, like where that money actually goes for these universities. You mentioned that at least a portion of it actually goes to the educational component.
Absolutely, absolutely. Part of the growth of sport and education are going hand in hand. So, there's no secret that, let's say, schools that are performing well in the SEC have huge build-out on campuses as well as endowments, particularly on their laboratory side, as well as the offerings of majors and curriculums and expanding upon, that business of the university as well.
I want to talk a little bit about your venture fund, Rumble Ventures. You spent some time in the NBA, particularly helping develop, more of a presence in Africa, right, outside of the U.S. here. What are the opportunities there, particularly when it comes to, are you trying to sell U.S. sports to those nations, or is this more the sports that the rest of the world, other than the U.S., actually pays attention to?
So when any league, and the NBA or even NFL, the NFL just launched the NFL Africa initiative. For the most part, and I'll use the NBA as an example, it's not necessarily to go grab players. The NBA doesn't miss. If you have the best jump shot, they're going to find you. The thing is that expansion of television rights, as well as globalizing, let's say, marketing partners. So we as a fund, and what we do on the continent is help more of a commercialization of the business of sports. So, one thing the U.S. does very well is that we use sports as a true asset class, whereas in developing nations, it's not necessarily the case. So we help go in with, let's say, best practices and how to optimize enterprise value with respect to what your sports league should be worth, what team should be worth, and so forth. So a similar example, for instance, we're talking about the NCAA. The minute the tournament is over, the first thing you're going to see is a commercial of that winner to buy that championship T-shirt. If we take that to, let's say, soccer leagues within Africa, to do that, that's a couple of $1 million right in the books, because conceivably some of these African teams have millions of fans. So just little nuances like that can help them, particularly with media rights and just the structuring of how we structure a sports business within the U.S.